There is a moment that almost no one talks about. Not the moment of victory, not the moment of applause, but the moment when you feel tired, unsure, and quietly close to giving up. This is the moment that decides everything. Motivation is not born when things are easy. It appears when progress feels slow and effort seems invisible. In this video, you will not hear empty phrases or quick inspiration. You will understand how motivation truly works, how it fades, and how to rebuild it when discipline feels weak. If you stay until the end, you may never see effort, failure, or consistency the same way again. Motivation is often misunderstood. Many people wait for it to appear before they act, believing that action should come after desire. But motivation does not lead action. Action creates motivation. When you move, even without certainty, the mind begins to adjust. Small actions send a signal to your brain that change is happening. That signal creates energy. That energy becomes momentum. This is why waiting to feel ready keeps so many people stuck. Progress starts when you move first, not when you feel inspired. The hardest step is always the first one, because it happens without emotional reward. But once movement begins, motivation follows naturally, quietly, and steadily. Most people lose motivation not because they are weak, but because they expect too much too fast. They look for visible results before the process has time to work. When progress feels slow, doubt enters quietly. The mind begins to question the effort, asking if it is worth continuing. This is where many stop. Not because they cannot continue, but because they misread silence as failure. Real growth often happens without immediate signs. It happens while you repeat the same action day after day without applause. Consistency feels boring before it feels powerful, and boredom is often mistaken for lack of motivation. But if you continue during this phase, something changes. Confidence starts to grow without noise. Discipline becomes lighter. What once required force begins to feel natural. Motivation returns, not as excitement, but as quiet determination. And that form of motivation lasts much longer than any sudden burst of inspiration. At some point, motivation stops being something you feel and starts becoming something you practice. You no longer wait to be ready. You move because movement itself creates readiness. This is a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Instead of asking, "Do I feel motivated today?" the question becomes, "What is the next small action I can take now?" Small actions remove resistance. They reduce the weight of starting. They remind the mind that progress does not require perfection. Every step completed sends a quiet message to your brain: you are capable. Over time, these messages accumulate. Self-trust grows, and when self-trust grows, motivation no longer depends on mood, energy, or circumstances. It becomes anchored in identity. You act not because it feels easy, but because it aligns with who you are becoming. This is where motivation stops fluctuating and starts stabilizing. There is a moment when excuses become familiar. They sound reasonable. They sound protective. They promise comfort now in exchange for progress later. But later rarely comes. Motivation weakens when comfort becomes the main priority. Growth always asks for a small discomfort first. Not pain, not extremes, just the willingness to stay present when it would be easier to stop. This is why strong motivation is built through choice, not emotion. Each time you act despite resistance, you train your mind to associate effort with control. And control creates confidence. Confidence creates clarity. Clarity reduces hesitation. The cycle feeds itself. Motivation stops leaking away because it is no longer fragile. It is supported by repeated proof that you can act, even when conditions are not perfect. As motivation becomes more stable, you begin to notice something important. You are no longer chasing energy. You are managing direction. Direction keeps you moving even on low days. It reminds you why you started when enthusiasm fades. This is why learning how the mind works matters. Understanding motivation is not about hype. It is about building systems that support you when willpower is quiet. If this perspective is helping you see motivation differently, consider subscribing to the channel. That simple action is a way of choosing growth intentionally. Here the focus is not quick excitement, but lasting progress. Motivation grows when it is fed with clarity, repetition, and purpose. And the more you understand this process, the less control distractions have over your actions. Motivation also changes when you stop measuring your progress by comparison. Looking at others often distorts perception. You only see results, not the effort behind them. This creates pressure that slowly drains motivation. Real progress is personal. It is built on consistency, not speed. When you focus on your own path, energy returns. Your mind feels less divided. Attention becomes cleaner. Each small improvement starts to matter again. This shift reduces frustration and increases patience. And patience is one of the strongest fuels for long-term motivation. When you respect your pace, you stop fighting yourself. And when that inner conflict fades, motivation has room to grow naturally. Another change happens when you stop treating motivation as a constant demand. You begin to understand that energy rises and falls naturally. Some days feel sharp and focused. Others feel slow and heavy. Both are normal. Motivation weakens when you expect the same intensity every day. It strengthens when you allow variation without giving up direction. On low days, showing up in a smaller way still counts. A reduced effort is not failure. It is continuity. This mindset removes pressure and replaces it with steadiness. You stop breaking promises to yourself. And each promise kept, even a small one, reinforces trust. That trust becomes a quiet source of motivation. Not loud, not emotional, but reliable. Motivation becomes stronger when you learn to reduce internal noise. Too many inputs pull attention in different directions. Notifications, opinions, and constant urgency fragment focus. A distracted mind struggles to sustain motivation. Clarity restores it. When you simplify what deserves attention, effort feels lighter. You begin to act with intention instead of reaction. This does not require isolation. It requires selectivity. Choosing fewer priorities creates depth. Depth builds momentum. Momentum reinforces motivation. As your mind becomes calmer, decisions feel less forced. You stop negotiating with yourself at every step. Action flows more naturally, supported by focus rather than pressure. Eventually, motivation stops being the main struggle. The real shift happens when action becomes familiar. What once felt difficult turns into routine. Routine removes friction. Friction is what drains energy the fastest. When habits are established, progress no longer depends on constant mental effort. You act before doubt has time to grow. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Intensity burns fast. Consistency builds quietly. Day by day, effort compounds. Results appear gradually, then suddenly. At this stage, motivation is no longer something you chase. It is something that follows your behavior. And once motivation follows action, forward movement becomes sustainable. This is where everything comes together. You realize that motivation was never the starting point. Action was. Small, repeated actions shaped discipline. Discipline shaped confidence. And confidence reshaped your direction. The progress you see now is proof that consistency works, even when results are not immediate. If this message helped you stay focused, consider subscribing to the channel to keep building this mindset with future videos. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching until the end. Leave a comment sharing what motivated you the most today, and keep moving forward, one deliberate step at a time.